Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you've not subscribed to our channel yet, please take a moment to do that. Alright, so here on Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, over the last few years, I've been working through a collection called The Stories of Ray Bradbury. There's 100 stories in that collection. We are up to number 84 today. Today's tale comes from 1976, and it's called Have I Got a Chocolate for You? The way these videos typically work is I do a brief synopsis of all the action and plot of the story and then wrap up with some sort of thoughts and feelings on what the whole thing means and basically where it all fits into the Bradbury universe. Synopsis, Father Malley is dozing in the confessional one hot summer day, feeling famished from his fasting, and he's very annoyed because he starts smelling the distinct aroma of chocolate somewhere in the neighborhood. Eventually, he hears some rustling in the confessional booth beside him, and he begins hearing the voice of a young man, we later find out is 22, and he confesses to eating 1 or 2 pounds of chocolate per day. Yeah, he's a glutton. The father seems a little bit put out that he's not there for the typical reasons, which is he elaborates more than once, either fornication or masturbation. But no, he gets a glutton to help on this day. The young man, age 22, admits to having consumed large amounts of chocolates, 1 or 2 pounds a day for at least 12 years. He's huge. He's morbidly obese. So are his parents. All that summer, the man continues to come back again and again, bothering Father Malley in the confessional, until one day he comes in and says, "I'm going away. Notice you don't smell any chocolate, do you?" He says, "You've helped me immensely. I've lost nearly 100 pounds in these last few months, and I'm finally fit and healthy enough, and I feel able enough to spend the next years traveling the world and sort of seeing in the world and living the life that I missed when I was sort of stuck near home because of my weight as a disability." But he reveals also that, oddly enough, he's not a member of this church, this diocese, and even worse, he's not even Catholic. He says he's an Irish Jew, which the father finds to be rather comical, actually. But he promises, or he offers that he'll, if it'll make things better, I'll join the Catholic Church. But in the meantime, he's going traveling. But he reveals that I promise one day I'll get back this way and I'll give you a small gift that I'll have had blessed by the Pope himself when I inevitably find myself in Rome. Many years later, the priest is much older. It's another hot summer day, much like the day when he first met the young man. He's dozing again in a confessional when he smells faintly the smell of chocolate. And here's a voice. The boy has returned, a man now, and he reveals that he's left a chocolate bar in the box of donations for the poor, and it's been blessed by the Pope, and it's for him. The priest goes out, finds the chocolate bar, and he eats it. He finds it sweet. He says, it's not the body of Christ as you would normally sort of consume in this place, but it represents a life, and it's sweet, and it's his life, and it's a good life, and he feels sort of vindicated that he's actually helped somebody in his time taking confessions in the church. So it's a funny, heartwarming, although admittedly a lesser story of Bradbury. I'm not Catholic, but I do imagine being a priest, hearing the same sins over and over and sort of never feeling like you're making a difference must be troubling. It must try their faith. I think also it reminds me of Father Mulcahy on the MASH sitcom, how he at times felt like he wasn't making a difference in this place. This priest was expecting the more common sexual sins, I guess, but what he got was gluttony. And, it's easy to think of gluttony as sort of a minor infraction, but it's a big deal in the case of this young man who eats himself into obesity and can't enjoy a life because of it. And It's very much relevant today, I think, in a world of excesses. We have billion-dollar corporations making junk food, and we have billion-dollar businesses or industries helping us also lose weight. And it's a constant struggle for balance in a weird modern world where, beginning especially after World War II and all this war-making technology and food-making technology, the very technology that helped us preserve food to get it overseas to troops, becomes increasingly part of the business model for feeding America, grocery stores and whatnot, and that leads to all of these high calorie, scientifically created foods, and they're calorically dense, and everybody's gaining weight, and it's cheaper than ever. So even if you're in poverty, or maybe especially if you're in poverty, low-cost calories are available, and so you can be both poor and fat, and maybe more likely to become obese in poverty because you can't afford, vacations, and you don't have the joy of a good job, and so you're sort of driven to it, and it's a way to escape that. And so gluttony has become a very dominant, I think, theme in our culture, and it's a push and pull, a tug of war between one eating disorder and the next, too thin, too fat. And I think that's all on display here, and it remains very much relevant in 2023. I guess last thing, at one point in the story, the priest and the boy get on the discussion of psychologists, and the priest doesn't seem to care for them. But when it comes down to it, as far as I'm concerned, in a way, psychiatry is sort of the modern day confessional in a way. It's a place where basically talking out your problems. But I think the main difference here is where, in a sense, it feels like psychology tries to make this all easily definable in a textbook, sort of almost an assembly line method for health, for mental health. Take the pill, come and talk, and that'll fix it all. But I do like the idea that the priest sort of not having quite the same guidance, in a sense, tailors the talk to the individual, to the sinner who's coming to absolve themselves before him. So I think that's really interesting how, we're not cookie cutters, which I think is why, some people, myself included, don't really thrive in a psychiatry situation. I went through that briefly, a few months of sessions with somebody, and it didn't work for me. I'm just too cynical for that, to believe that I can talk my problems away, and sort of getting the advice that sort of comes out of the textbook did not work for me. But for some people, that's exactly the environment they need. So people who are more structured and used to sort of, and almost toeing the line, I guess, sort of fitting into that box. They want to fit into that box. Me, I prefer to be outside the box, and so sort of being pushed into these parameters never worked for me. But I think definitely part of what's going on in this story is that difference between the religious mentor or guide versus the one who is driven by sort of the compulsions of modern science and sort of is beholden to the system and to those who license them and the education that they got. And so it's a very interesting dichotomy there going on. It's a smaller point in the story, but it is going on. It is there, definitely. So, all right, that is Have I Got a Chocolate for You from 1976. Next time, which will be tomorrow for you, we'll be moving on to A Story of Love from 1951, which is story number 85 of 100 in the Stories of Ray Bradbury collection. So here we are, soon to enter the final 15 stories in this collection, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to wrapping up with you here over the next couple of weeks. See you later.